Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for squat and deadlift day. And as I discussed, it's time to really mess with this range of motion. You guys watched the podcast I did with Jamie Lewis that Lewis Winlock got on for me. And then of course he and I had a lot of training talks since then. And so yeah, I decided I'm going to work on high bar pause squats. I have to get my range of motion back. That's what I've said. I've had problems with depth. So I ramped up, and you guys can see the whole ramp up here, up to 435, and I was still not really hitting the depth I would like. I feel like I'm below parallel, but I didn't really get deep until I did my back off work. I'm like, once I got there, I'm like, it felt deep, but I knew it needed to be deeper. But every set of this, I could feel my hips starting to open up more and more and more. Okay, I felt them opening up. And I do need to work with the grip to where I find the best grip position for this, to where I can get a good full grip on the bar. And as I've been working on my shoulder mobility, that's helped. But man, I know my quads are going to blow up, because that set there, that's 375. Yeah, because that's a 55-pound squat bar. My quads were lit. And then they were less lit on the later sets, which is interesting. They're just not used to being quite stretched like that. And I realized when I do my belt squat later, I'm like, yeah, I need to get the same sort of deep stretch. I almost need to stack it up on some stuff so I can get deeper, right? For the belt squats, I feel like I need to stack it back like I used to do on boards so that I can get it as deep as possible. These are decent right here, right? This is 415, then I go up to 435. They're not bad. They're not bad, but they're not as deep as I would like to be. They're not in a true full squat. Right, they're below parallel, but they're not a full squat, which is really what my quads need. Let's be honest. Got to bring my quads back up. They're starting to come back, but I've got to get that stretch resistant, and I have to get powerful out of it. What have I been talking about with you guys? Getting powerful from those bottom ranges of motions, from those lengthened positions, right? Being able to do a long pause on the bench and then hit your max. Okay. That was okay. That was 435. And I didn't want to go heavier than that. I'm like, so let's set a goal. Let's keep working this mobility, and let's get to a 500. To a 500 is the depth I'm getting on these. Now, these, I tried to hold these longer and longer. I thought this was 355 because I put a 10 on each side of this, and it's like, because I can't do math sometimes when I've been lifting. Right? And actually it's 345. I thought it was 355, but I'm like, well, let me just do some really long pauses at the bottom with this. Okay, let me just do some really long pauses. And these are starting to get deeper. Notice as I get deeper, notice it loosens up. I get deeper and deeper the longer I hold it. So I just have to compress myself. And that's kind of like we discussed in that podcast. And he said, yeah, dude, he goes, you're so tight that a jackhammer couldn't bust some of this stuff loose. It's like it's all going to have to be weighted stuff. And that's what I've realized. The only way my shoulder mobility is going to come back is things like pullovers, dead hangs, all that stuff. I'm going to have to force it in those uncomfortable positions. Same with the squatting. Now, I've been struggling to hit depth. Now I go to this straight up high bar. Okay, I go into a straight up high bar and start doing pause work. Notice it compresses me deeper. Watch, it goes deeper. I get a couple inches deeper as I start holding it. And the last one I tried to do about 10 seconds. And I didn't want to overdo these because, again, we know how DOMS and stretch mediated stuff goes. Probably going to hurt tomorrow. I feel good right now while I'm recording this. I don't feel any soreness, any pain. In fact, everything just feels loose and good. But I have a feeling tomorrow it's going to hurt. All right. But, what's going to build my quads back up? It's going to get me strong out of the bottom of these movements. This is what's going to do it. This is what's going to do it. Look at that nice long hold. Now that one I'm happy with. Look at that. Beautiful. Perfect. Okay. We need to do that with 500 pounds. We'll call it 505. That's the goal. We want to get a fifth plate. Fifth plate on each side. That would put me at 505. Okay, that's what we need to go for. Now, I was trying to replicate that the best that I could on these belt squats. Here's the problem. Those plates tap the floor. They're hitting the floor. Now, this is still pretty good, right? I'm getting a pretty good stretch there. but it's not quite as deep. It's not quite as deep. So I think eventually, if I really want to get the most out of this machine, I'm going to have to stack it again. We're going to have to. Look, I'm just going to require some help to do that. I'm eventually wanting to switch where it is with the bench press over there. And, if I did that, it'd be a good excuse. It's something I need to work on. Because that range of motion isn't what I would like. I mean, do I really want to get the most quad development? Then I've got to get in those deep stretch positions. I have to. So then I just supersetted the 3 sets of that with belt squats. And I did these up to 15 reps. So belt squats with reverse hypers. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to deadlift today. I had deadlifted on Tuesday. Let's make this day all about the squats. Same thing, the glute ham raises made me cramp so bad I was crippled on Tuesday. Do I need to do them today? I don't think so. It's not like I'm not going to have a training response from that lasts for a week, especially as hard as I cramped. So, let's just do this stuff. Got some pause work in. Got a good pump, because I still got a great pump on this. These were hard with this narrower position. The 200 was actually very difficult for 10s. Right? I'm struggling with that 10th rep each time. Happy with that. We'll get a good training response from all this. Again, but I've got to get all that mobility back, and we're working on it. Right? We saw the pullovers. I'm now doing dead hangs. Same thing, the incline works my range of motion big time. I'm going to have to I've got to really squat. We're going to have to do some deep ass squats. I'm going to have to do in pause. It's just what's going to have to happen. But again, it'll get my squatting back up. Deadlifting's in a good place. And if anything, extra quad and all that will possibly help my deadlift. Quad and glute from all this. Right? I have to devote a lot of time to deadlifting. I've never really had to. Right? So let's work on all this stuff. And we'll keep pulling, obviously, at least once a week, though I am going to come in and pull heavy. But I don't need to just hammer it into the ground. I've got to hammer this squatting. I've got to get it back. And this is kind of just, I guess, the evolution of where I need to go with it. Went back over to trying to work on depth, doing normal back squats again. And now it's like, let's mess with the high bar. And the nice thing with high bar, there's no strain on the shoulder. I got to get that grip sorted to where I've got to find optimal to where I'm most stable. And after this, I did some core work, because if I am going to do some high bar, I need to do that. I'm going to work on front squats too. I need to get everything, my shoulders all with enough mobility to where I can rack it up in a good position then. But I think front squats will go a long way to help me. I think they'll help me a lot, right? Especially if I'm going to do those deep high bar stuff. Work on some front squats, but I need to make sure my core and abs and everything are strong for that. So I finished up with some ab work, but overall I feel good about today's work. It's a good starting point. So we'll keep moving forward with it. So I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.